Hebel's descent to the world of darkness. When Sinyawis, the land of darkness, assumed control of the world of darkness, the entire universe cringed, and its balance became upset. Hebel Zewa, son of Mandadhai, came forth, bowed down respectfully before his father, and said, "My father, whither will be this generous invitation?" His father answered, "To see Mana and his great configuration." The lights nearly blinded his eyes. But Hebel Zewa obediently stood by. Twice esteemed Mana received Hebel into his presence, embraced him and kissed him. They said, "Oh, Hebel Zewa, do not tremble. Come be baptized in 360,000 Yardeni. We will adorn you with 360 garments of light." They baptized him and dressed him thus. Hebel became a great Mana like them. My father named me Yahweh, after his own name, and said to me, "You are now our son and our Idmuta, which is more than the brilliance of all the Uthri. You will face an uncontrollable universe, which combines within it both menace and severe constraints. These are the worlds of darkness. You will go there and remain for so long that we may forget about you. But your Dmuta will be here to read the Masikta to you." Dmuta means counterpart, and every human has a heavenly counterpart. In this case, Hebel Zewa was assigned a heavenly counterpart to read him the Masikta. And the Masikta is a death mass. The Masikta is performed 3 days after the death of a person, unless an astrologically bad day interferes. It is an extremely complex ritual, focusing on the spirit, Ruha, and the soul, Nishimtha, the two upper elements constituting the human being. So the human being is made up of a spirit and a soul. Spirit is called Ruha, and the soul is called Nishimtha. Because the body, Pagra, cannot rise to the light world, it receives little or no attention in the Masikta. The emphasis rests on the joining of spirit and soul, for these must accompany one another upwards in order to be incorporated into a new light world body, the Ushtana, or the Ushtunu. This is the Masikta's goal. In addition, the ritual aims to incorporate the newly deceased into the community of the mundane ancestors in the light world. Okay, so Dmuta, the counterpart, image, shape, form, effigy, likeness, double. The mundanes believe that every man and every light being has a double, has a counterpart. Each individual has his own likeness in the ideal world, Mishuni Kushta, that's the name of the ideal world, the ideal world of the mundanes, and inhabited by the righteous doubles. Okay, so Mishuni Kushta is the ideal world of the mundanes and is inhabited by their doubles. Okay, it says here the mundane idea of image is repeated in Manichaeism. Mani received his revelation from his twin or comrade. So it says here that I'm reading from the paragraph highlighted in pink. The emphasis rests on the joining of spirit and soul, for these must accompany one another upwards in order to be incorporated into a new light body, the Ushtunu. Okay, so this is it seems the double. Perhaps this Ushtunu is perhaps the Dmuta, or the double. This is going to make more sense when we start reading more about it, and we're going to read from other Sabaic religions, because this idea exists in all Sabaic religions. The soul and the spirit come together, they join together, and they rise into heaven, and they join the Dmuta, the heavenly counterpart. Okay, the soul and spirit join together, and they rise into heaven, and they join with the Dmuta, the heavenly counterpart, in the world of heavenly counterparts. And this world exists in the larger world of light, where all of the deities and angels live. In its entirety, a regular single Masikta that's the death mass we spoke of, takes about 12 hours. Of the several priestly celebrants, at least one must be a Ganzibra. A Ganzibra is like the head of priests, basically. As usual, an Ashkanda helper supplies the priests with certain materials for the ceremony. Preparations begin the day before the Masikta. On the day of the ceremony itself, the celebrating priests perform minor ablutions and partake of 2 ritual meals. During the second meal, the priests begin to impersonate the dead person for whom the Masikta is celebrated. The presence of lay people as spectators is required during these public rituals, but the Masikta proper is conducted inside the Mandi cult hut. The Mandi is the name of the Mandaeans' temple, okay? Unseen by anybody but the participating priests before they enter the Mandi. However, the Ganzabra, assisted by the helper, the Ushkanda, kills a dove outside the hut. The 2 men imitate the 2 primordial Uthras who first carried out the Masikta for Adam, the first man. The dove is called Ba. Okay, this is very important. There's a reason I've highlighted this. The dove is called Ba. It symbolizes the spirit, and the priest assures that it will rise with the soul. Okay? So the spirit is represented with a dove. Just like in Christianity, the Holy Spirit came down from heaven in the form of a dove when Jesus Christ was being baptized. Now, the word Ba here is used to symbolize the spirit. This is very important. The royal funerary, this is from the Egyptians, the sacred magic of ancient Egypt. The royal funerary cortege commences in Sais, where the Khat, corporeal body, is interred with ancestral spirits in the west. It then proceeds north to Butu, where the Ka, the double, the astral body vitality, is liberated from the body. Okay, the Ka is the spirit, and it's liberated from the body and is renewed in the primeval ocean. The sacred journey then moves east to Mendes, where the renewed Ka fuses with the Ba. The Ba is the soul, divine appearance, visible aspect. To become a fully conscious being in the celestial worlds, the cortege concludes in the south at Heliopolis, where the restored functions move into Akh. And join the celestial beings in the sky. Akh is the light body, and it's a word that means brother. It means brother in both Hebrew and Arabic. So the soul and the spirit unite. They move up into heaven and they join the Akh, the light body, the Dmuta, basically, the counterpart, the heavenly counterpart, according to the Egyptians. All of the Sabians believe this. All of the Sabians have the same belief that the spirit and soul come together, they make their way up into heaven, and they merge or fuse with the Akh, the heavenly counterpart. Okay, notice that the word Ba here is the same Ba that the Mandaeans use. The Ka and Ba, I've written a note here, let's go ahead and read it together. The word Kaaba, right, because they fuse together. We said the Ka and the Ba merge together and they make their way up into heaven. The word Kaaba is the Ka and Ba fused together to form the conscious being. It can also be written as Bakka. Okay, so Kaaba or Bakka. As we see in the Quran, verse 396, surely the first house of worship established for humanity is the one at Bakka. Bakka is an alternate pronunciation of Mecca. This is very interesting because when Muslims circumambulate the Kaaba, that is considered a form of worship among pagans. Similarly, Mecca or Bakka was the primary god worshipped by the Sabians in Yemen. We've read about this. We've said Mecca is the god that was worshipped in Yemen, the supreme god, the sun. From this, we can conclude that the word Bakka or Kaaba can be understood as having the same meaning as manna. Remember previously we've said that Tahil went to the house of God, the great manna. Manna is the oversoul or overmind, the earliest manifestation of the great life. Manna is the eternal part of the human soul, which when freed from earthly pollution is reunited with the great manna. To grab a manna. So Tahil, they created Adam like we've said. Adam was not moving. Adam could not be moved. So they went to the great manna to ask for a manna. Right? They went to the great manna to ask for a manna, to grab a manna from him to give to Adam. Manna appears here as having both the ka and the ba, needed to live, and to bring him to life. If we apply the same concept to the word Kaaba, the great Kaaba or Bakka is the god of the Sabians who gives Kaaba, Bakka to people to bring them to life. The great manna is the great Kaaba. Let's go ahead and read. This is from the Hindus. So Lady Drower actually spoke about the similarity between what the Mandaeans believe in and what the Hindus believe in. The Vedic manas, or mana meaning mind, thinker or soul, MacDonnelly in his Vedic mythology says that the Vedas divided the animating principle into Asu, spirit, expressing physical vitality even of animals, and Manas, soul, as the seat of thought and emotion, which already in the Rig Veda seem to be regarded as dwelling in the heart. So the Hindus believe that there is an Asu, that's the spirit, and the Manas, that's the soul, and they are living together, dwelling in the heart. Let's continue reading from the Hindu sources. This is from the Brahma Sutra. Scriptures describe Brahman as reality, consciousness, and infinity. Satyam, Janam, But Brahma, I want to say Brahma is the hidden sun. Okay? So he's being described here as reality, consciousness itself. And it says here that he is described as consciousness, infinity, Satyam, Janam, Anantam, the infinite Brahma. These are not qualities which belong to Brahman but are one with Brahman. They constitute the very nature of Brahman. Brahma, or Hiranya Garbha, is the firstborn emanation of the Supreme Isvara, who controls the process of cosmic evolution. Isvara is infinite, has all possibilities in him without limitation. This universe existed in the shape of darkness, the Supreme, desiring to create beings of many kinds from his own body, first with a thought created the waters and placed his seed in them. That seed became a golden egg, equal to the sun in brilliance. In that he himself was born as Brahma, the progenitor of the whole world. Haranya Gara, that's Brahma, is a manifestation of Isvara. This is just like what we've read with the Mandaeans. Isvara is the great manna, right? And Isvara gave birth to, out of an egg, to Brahma. He created an egg, and out of the egg Brahma emerged, just like the great life. The great life emerged out of the egg. It's the same story. The Isvara is the hidden sun that exists in the world of non-existence. Madhva argues that the scriptures declare Vishnu to be Brahma, the ultimate cause of the world, and not Shiva. So Brahma is being identified here with Vishnu. Vishnu is the sun god. Okay? Vishnu is the sun god. So strangely enough, they don't pray to Brahma. Instead, they pray to Vishnu. Hindus, instead of praying to Brahma, the hidden sun, they pray to the visible sun Vishnu. From Hinduism, karma, samsara, moksha, actions generated by desire and appetite, bind one's spirit to an endless series of births and deaths. Desire motivates any social interaction, particularly when involving sex or food, resulting in the mutual exchange of good and bad karma. In one prevalent view, the very meaning of salvation is emancipation, moksha, from this morass, an escape from the impermanence that is an inherent feature of mundane existence. In this view, the only goal is the one permanent and eternal principle, the one God, Brahman, which is totally opposite to the phenomenal existence. People who have not realized that their being is identical with Brahman are thus seen as deluded. And once righteous people die, their souls is reunited with him. It's the same exact concept. Brahma is the one that gives people their soul/spirit. Okay, the Asu/Manas comes from Brahman. And he is the hidden sun. The story of the cosmic egg common among the Sabians, Brahma is Amun-Ra, the hidden sun. He is part of the trinity of Trimurti. This involves Vishnu, the sun god, one of the forms of Brahma, and moon god Shiva. This will be explained later in the presentation and will be important for understanding future topics. So the trinity is the hidden sun, Brahma, the physical sun, that's Vishnu, and the moon, that's Shiva. Continuing from the Hindu sources, while Atman is usually translated into European languages as soul, it must be realized it can also mean God. This is because Atman is just Brahman as understood by the deluded mind, while Brahman is Atman understood by the liberated or awakened mind. Atman is not influenced by other wholesome or unwholesome karma. Instead, what is affected by karma is kosha, and the set of sheath-like bodies surrounding the Atman. These bodily sheaths exist due to the delusion of individuality, or belief in separation from Brahman. As long as these bodily sheaths remain, reincarnation continues. It is only through profoundly liberating oneself from any thought that Atman is separate from Brahman that the end of rebirth is possible. So Atman is the Dmuta, the counterpart in heaven. Okay, let's read this note quickly. Asu and Manas merge together, that's the spirit and the soul merge together and make their way to Atman, the heavenly counterpart, the double, to unite with him. Atman is in reality Brahman himself and must have unshakable belief in their oneness to attain unity. Okay, so your soul or spirit comes from the hidden sun. Basically, in all of the Sabaic beliefs, the soul/spirit comes from the hidden sun. And the goal of the spirit is to reunite with God. In this case, Atman is the heavenly counterpart of every person. Every person has an Atman. Okay? And Atman is identical with Brahma. Okay? Your soul/spirit, they come together, they merge together, they unite together, they make their way up into heaven, and they merge with Atman up in heaven. Okay, this same concept as we're going to see, everyone believed in this same exact thing. Let's go ahead and read from The Secret History of Hermes Trismegistus. Asclepius, Greek god, this caring for the world is not only a pleasure but is also a burden. Man, who is essentially spirit, wishes in the end to be freed from his corporeality through death, to ascend into the spiritual realm, never to become mortal again. Only the pious can expect to return to their divine origin. All others after death are reborn in another body. So just like the Hindus, the Greeks also believed in birth and rebirth. Only man of all creatures is so distinguished. He alone possesses, along with his body and his soul, which is nourished nourished by the pneuma, the spirit, that must gain control over the body. As compared with the gods and pure intelligences, man possesses a body so as to cultivate the earth, and in relation to beings that are merely mortal, he is distinguished by his spirit. This unique and powerful position displays itself among other ways in man's ability to make living images of the gods. Page 14 says, "For it's also a man's task to take care of the created physical world with this moral part, with this mortal part of himself, and as the third God, to regard and revere the second God, the cosmos." Okay, so the human being is described here as a God. Why is that? Because your soul, your spirit that exists within you comes from God. That makes you God. You have part of God within you. Okay, you have part of God within you, so you are part God. And the Greeks, like we said, they believed in birth and rebirth. The earth is a purgatory, and the sinful have to come here and be purified of their sins. They learn from their mistakes. They become righteous and pious, and eventually, when they refrain from making any more mishaps, they can finally leave earth and make their way into heaven. I want to keep reading about the Greeks. Let's continue reading about the Greeks, a very well-studied man. This is Plato's version of the Mishuni Kushta, the ideal world of doubles. Subtle matter arises from the principle of light and is equated with spiritual nature. The principle of light is opposed to the principle of shadow, which determines bodies. The first principle is responsible for movement of heat and life. Bodies, on the contrary, are primarily associated with attributes of darkness and corruptibility. We can therefore see that the spiritual force behind the Platonian emanation of light constitutes a formative and procreative power. The initially into clouds and shadows, the divine need for communication leads to the reflection of God and thus to the creation of a vortex of light and heat. These are communicated initially into clouds and shadows closest to the light source, and thus create a first world through light and heat. God's influence is universal. The homogeneity of this creative influence leads Des Pegnet to assert that nature is not divided into conceptual categories, but exists in unity. The motive force works on the world through the sun, and thus originates from within the solar system. The corporeal world is subordinate to an ethereal middle realm, which occupies the role of a vicarium, which is Latin for partner. Okay, so the world we live in has a double. Basically, this is what the Greeks are telling us. This is what Plato is telling us. There's a double of this world, an exact double. Basically, just like the Mandaeans, this is Mishuni Kushta. This is the world of doubles. This is the world where everyone has his own akh, or as the Hindus like to call him, Atman. Right? The Hindus like to call him Atman. Now, another thing that I'd like to point out is the bodies. This is from a very well-studied man, the first paragraph. We read the second line. Bodies, on the contrary, are primarily associated with attributes of darkness and corruptibility. Usually, the Sabians believe that the physical body is from the world of darkness. Okay, the spirit is from the world of light, and the body is from the world of darkness. And your body, your spirit, it tries to escape, right? It escapes the body upon death. So death is not really it's not really a bad thing, because your soul is going back to meet its Lord, is going back to where it belongs, to the world of light. So it's not really a bad thing. I'm just going to, I think this is the final paragraph about the Greeks, and then we're going to read about the Zoroastrians. from semiotics towards philosophical metaphysics. While ontological reality reveals itself to our senses as chaotic, syncretic, and non-ordained something, semiotic reality, which is derived from our efforts to cope with ontological reality, constitutes a reality of various signs that we ourselves have created. They are organized into sign systems which are continuous, discrete, preordained, and inherently consistent because of this. They can be reviewed and reconsidered, changed, and improved. Signs are idealizations of ontological data. Although they are initially created by human beings, in many ways they resemble Platonic ideas. This idea of signs seems to be similar to the sheaths that are with Atman in Hindu mythology. Greeks seem to have also believed in the concept of karma and birth and rebirth. Humans are also described as gods, a concept and deification shared with the Hindus, which is not accepted by the Sabians who follow the original teachings of the Egyptians, as we will later see. Hindus and Greeks used to deify their leaders. Obviously, the Mandaeans never did this, the Zoroastrians never did this, Muslims do not do this, so. Okay, we're going to start reading about the Zoroastrians. And by the way, I want to say the final slide. This is going to be the final slide. This is really short. It's not going to take us any time. It's going to be the final slide for this video, so there's not much left. Okay. And the similarity between the Mandaean soul, Nishimta, and likeness, and the Urvan and Fravashi of the Zoroastrians is striking. On the death of a person, his soul, Urvan, meets with justice according to his merits or demerits. If he has deserved well, he goes to heaven. If not, to hell. His Fravashi, which guided him through life as a guiding spirit, parts from his soul and goes to its abode or place among all the Faravashis. It is the soul, Urvan, that meets with good or evil consequences of its actions. The Faravashi, or the guiding spirit, was pure and perfect, unalloyed and uncontaminated from the beginning, and has passed away as such. The Mandaeans have varying theories as to the whereabouts of this ideal world. Some maintain that it is in the north and divided from the actual world by a high and icy mountain. This is the mountain range that surrounds the world. We've spoken about this. But the Zoroastrians, just like the Hindus, just like the Mandaeans, just like the Egyptians, just like the Greeks, they believed that the person was made up, that the person had a spirit and a soul. The soul, in this case, is called Urvan, and the spirit is called Faravashi. They make their way up into heaven. The Faravashi acts as a guiding spirit, but the soul is the one that is going to meet the consequences. The Urvan is the one that meets the consequences, not the Faravashi. The spirit is not, does not have to be purified, basically. Da'ina accompanies the soul to the next world. This is continuing from the Zoroastrian sources. Da'ina accompanies the soul to the next world of the various spiritual faculties of man. The Da'ina is only one besides the soul, of which we hear anything after the dissolution of the body. There appears then to the soul its own Da'ina, or Dana. You know what? It's just sometimes like there's nowhere where you can find how a word is pronounced. And that's what makes it difficult. So I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly. You guys just have to forgive me. There appears then to the soul its own Da'ina, a religious conscience in the shape of a damsel of unsurpassed beauty, the fairest of the fair in the world, dazzled by her matchless beauty and grandeur. The soul halts and inquires who this image may be, the like of which it had never seen nor heard uh, of in the material world. The apparition replies that she is the impersonation of the soul's own good thoughts, good words, and good deeds in life. She is nothing more than the true reflex of its own character, for when his friends and neighbors in the corporeal world indulged in wickedness, the spirit abiding in the true believer always embraced good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Notice how the counterpart, the heavenly counterpart, is described as a beautiful woman. Okay, she's described here as a beautiful woman. This is important when we start reading about, from the Quran, basically. The Manichaean teaching about the hereafter. Mani said, when an elect is visited by death, primal man is sent to him, the primal man sends to him a luminous deity in the form of a wise guide. Accompanying him are three deities who bring a cup, garment, turban, crown, and garland of light. A youth comes with them who is similar to the soul of that elect. A devil symbolizing desire and lust will appear before them, along with other Satans. When the elect sees them, he will appeal to the divinity in the form of the wise guide, and to the three deities for help, and they will draw near to him. When the Satans behold them, they will turn around and flee. They, the deities, will then take hold of the elect and dress him in the crown, the garland, and the garment. They will put the cup in his hand and ascend with him in the column of praise to the lunar sphere, and then to the primal man and the mother of life, to where he was in the beginning in the light paradises. That discarded body remains behind, and the sun and the moon and the luminous deities strain out from it those species which are water, fire, and air. The product of this filtration ascends to the sun and becomes divine. The rest of the body, which is all darkness, is cast down to Jahannam, hell. It's cast down to hell. So, the line highlighted in blue, it says, the primal man sends a luminous deity in the form of a wise guide. Okay, so that's the guiding spirit, basically. And it says in green here, highlighted in dark green, a youth comes with them who is similar to the soul of the elect. Okay, so this is the heavenly counterpart. The youth that comes is the heavenly counterpart. Each Yazidi during his life, this is from Yazidism, undergoes a ritual wherein they become bonded spiritually to a brother and sister of their faith from a family different from the one they are born into. The spiritual sibling relationship is established to assist the Yazidi soul into the next life. According to the Yazidi beliefs, one's heavenly brother and sister will be awaiting to assist one's soul when one departs from this world and act as a guide for the soul through their journey into the spiritual world. So, it's the same concept, it's the heavenly counterpart. Yazidis are telling us that every person has a heavenly counterpart. In Islam, the concept of a heavenly counterpart exists in the Quran. This was later changed to hide the Sabaic theology behind it. These heavenly counterparts are commonly mistaken for pleasure partners, concubines, but that's not the case. They will be reclining on thrones, neatly lined up facing each other, and we will pair them to maidens with gorgeous eyes. Indeed, this is from the Quran, by the way. Indeed, we will have perfectly created their mates, making them virgins, loving and of equal age, for the people of the right, who will be a multitude from earlier generations and a multitude from later generations, and the people of the left, how miserable will they be? Enter paradise, you and your spouses rejoicing. So highlighted in orange, it says that these maidens will be of equal age to the people of the right. That means that if a man is 70 years old, this maiden is going to be 70 years old. Who would want a 70-year-old concubine? No one. No one wants a 70-year-old concubine. And then it says, enter paradise, you and your spouses rejoicing. How can I go with my spouse, right? Like, imagine going to heaven with your wife and she's looking at you having fun with your concubines, and she's sitting there with nothing to do, basically. Does that make sense? The only way this could make any sense is if those are heavenly counterparts, and that's what they are. All of the Sabians believe that every person has a heavenly counterpart which the soul spirit joins with after death. Okay? This was corrupted by the Abbasids and was made to seem as if this was a concubine. It's not a concubine. These are heavenly counterparts. Okay? This is where I'm going to end this. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Till next time.